Hey, remember ABC's IMAX's Marvel Television's The Inhumans? No? Then that just means everything's going according to plan. The Inhumans was the final desperate play by now former Marvel Entertainment CEO Isaac Perlmutter to stake a claim to a share of that sweet, sweet Cinematic Universe money. Kevin Feige had managed to maneuver Perlmutter out of the film side back in 2015, leaving him with control of only, everything else, including merchandise, video games, cartoons, direct-to-market films, television, and, of course, comic books. Pissed, though, that he wasn't in control of all of the things, Perlmutter proclaimed that he would make his own successful live-action Marvel content, but with blackjack and hookers, except on ABC, so none of those things were available. He then canceled the popular Agent Carter, greenlit a bunch of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. spin-offs that went absolutely nowhere, and threw his campaign for the Inhumans into full gear. For years, Perlmutter had relentlessly pushed for Earth's weirdest heroes to appear on the big screen, the characters allegedly being his personal favorites. The unavailability of the X-Men rights at the time seemingly made the Inhumans a perfect replacement, swapping one team of randomly superpowered characters for more of the same. That the X-Men have a built-in fan base because of their specific characters, familiar storylines, and decades of impactful melodrama apparently never really entered into the equation, which may partially explain why it was the greatest failure the company had faced since their bankruptcy in 1996, when, interestingly enough, Perlmutter was chairman of the Marvel board. By 2016, however, Kevin Feige managed to kick the Inhumans from the announced roster of official MCU movies, while also later doing his best to distance them from any attempted tie-in from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yet after all of that, they are still giving Perlmutter money to produce a show to rival both the X-Men and MCU movies, on the television budget, and to debut not just in a theater, but in IMAX. Needless to say, it looked like, and was, shit. Working from a budget so low, Marvel even to this day won't release details, save the complaints of the director, Roel Riene. The sets were bland and flat. The costumes and interpretations were sub-cosplay quality, the dialogue was wooden, and the shooting locations was based on the availability of the Hawaii Five-0 crew, with the pilot episode, the episode intended to be in IMAX theaters across North America, and promoted heavily by ABC and Marvel as a fully fledged MCU film, was shot in just 2 weeks, resulting in a paltry $3.5 million at the box office. According to Box Office Mojo, on the day previous to this recording, Endgame made nearly double that. Oddest of this failure, though, was the casting, in that it was entirely based on Ewan Rion and his performance as Ramsay Bolton. It's not that Rion wasn't capable in the role, far from it, but it's like asking a chef to make a wedding cake out of a couple of Twinkies. They can do something creative, no doubt, but they're still only working with a couple of Twinkies. Also, Ramsay Bolton was a bastard, a monster rotten to the core and entirely unsympathetic in any regard, who starved old ladies to death and fed babies and young girls to ravenous dogs, who tortured and mutilated prisoners, murdered his own father, and flayed people alive. Maximus the Mad is a man who is somewhat upset that he isn't special, and would like his family to accept and appreciate him. To that end, he overthrows them in a manner that doesn't kill or harm anyone, and then attempts to hand power over to a rightsless underclass. Also, his madness is roughly defined as questioning hereditary monarchy and class segregation. These two things don't go together. It's not that it's bad that an actor has range, or portrays different characters, but Rion was cast specifically due to Ramsay, to inject the villainy into Maximus, to borrow from his infamy and shore up a weak character who never lived up to that villainy, let alone never really did anything once they had power. Kind of like Cersei this season. For one reason or another, the Ramada chain of hotels and resorts doesn't choose to pay for any advertising in my market. So until a random gif on Twitter about a year ago, I had never seen or heard of any of the ads featuring the Wyndham Rewards Rewards Wyzard, which is a hell of a thing to say, starring Christopher Hivju. And I must say, I am very disappointed that this was not my introduction to the actor. Somewhere out there are people who did see this ad campaign before they saw any Game of Thrones, and Hivju will forever in their heads be the Wyndham Resorts Rewards Wizard first, and the bear-snogging wild madman second. It would be like if during the next season of Westworld, Vince the ShamWow guy rocked on up as this reoccurring badass that the audience really got into, and then lasted another 5 seasons. I'll admit I've never seen Hivju's other, more serious work, because I'm trying to protect this moment in time, when I only know him as either barbarian nutter or all-powerful corporate mascot. This will inevitably be shattered, but for now, oh what a blissful ignorance it is. You've got to have a lot of respect for the Sarah Connor Chronicles for achieving what it did while laboring under the kind of restrictions no other entry in the Terminator franchise has ever had to deal with or has since. While rumored to have been ludicrously high-budgeted by television standards, it would still not meet the effects expectations the series carried, nor the cinematic talents of franchise creator James Cameron. The result was a frustrating mixed bag of fantastic characterization, interesting storylines, and deeper explorations of the many themes the Terminator franchise had addressed over its history, shot on bright, flat television lighting, and edited together by a sentient quick cut, making this rather worthwhile series look cheap and gaudy. Not that producer Fox didn't put their best foot forward with it, though, giving promotional airtime during both the Super Bowl and World Series, billboards in LA and New York, and a mobile game, co-sponsored by Verizon, resulting in the network's most successful pilot launch of the year. Set 4 years after the continuity of Terminator 2, the Sarah Connor Chronicles follows the titular hero and son John as they jump forward from their life in 1999 to 2007 to escape a T-888, thanks to the help of a T-889 Connor sent back to protect them named Cameron, played by Summer Glau. The real star, of course, both literally and figuratively, was Lena Headey as Sarah. At the time of her casting, the internet was up in arms about Connor being played by someone who was as unintimidating and weak, nowhere near the Amazonian prime of Judgment Day Linda Hamilton, despite Headey's stoic performance the year previous as Queen Gorgo of Sparta. That quickly vanished, however, as audiences fell in love with her portrayal, exploring Sarah Connor as a real person in a fantastical situation, made worse by the inevitable onset of leukemia that tends to kill the character in most timelines. In terms of her sheer screen time, Headey has done more to define the role than Hamilton ever could, and owns it in her own right. It's a shame that Fox pulled the plug after only 2 seasons, with rumors suggesting that the bigger budget just wasn't resulting in enough bang for their buck. Thankfully, Headey found work somewhere else.
For England, James? No. For me.
Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for memories. I'm so tired, I can't sleep. Standing on the edge of something much too deep. It's funny how it feels so much, but we cannot say a word. We are screaming inside, oh, we can't be heard. I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not for memories. So afraid to love you, more afraid to lose. Clinging to a past that doesn't let me choose. Where once there was a darkness, a deep and endless night. Gave me everything you had, oh, you gave me life. And I will remember